Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. So, by the way, did you get your Powerball ticket?
Why? Is it really high?
Oh, yeah, it's like the second highest ever, they say. So, yeah, I mean, there's no reason for anyone else to get a Powerball ticket if I buy one.
You know, I won the lottery in 1973, $200 in Connecticut. And
Really?
I've spent about $200,000 trying to do it again.
Yeah, that's the bait and switch, you
Yes.
see.
I
They hook you in.
Now, is it the Powerball that's high, or is it the Mega Millions?
Powerball jackpot grows. The prize rolls over to become the second largest of 2025 after no winner in the latest drawing.
You've done enough. I've got to go out and buy lottery tickets. And I might as well just take the money and throw it out my car window because it's.
Well, you could do that on the way and not buy the Powerball ticket, and then the one number.
That's right.
You know, they'll sit there and it'll come from the little corner filling station
Right down the street
road from you.
Yes.
And the lady next door in curlers out there sitting there bending over in the lawn
Yes.
yard that she shouldn't. She's the one that won it.
That's right. And the one,
She got my ticket.
And I usually buy my ticket just before she gets to the store.
Yeah, well, she's too busy posing in her nightgown and curlers, you know.
You see my neighbor? No, I'm in trouble now. No. To all my neighbors, I'm just kidding. All
They
right?
were fans of the show before.
Yeah. Well, there goes that audience.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You did it.
Did you happen to watch the president last night? His address to the nation?
No, I didn't watch it, but I understand it was pretty good.
It was
but
good.
You know what? It depends on who you ask. I mean, that's the one thing. You know, if you do a good job and you're well liked by the public, you'll always have mainstream liberal media to bring you back down to earth and dig a hole and bury you in it.
Yeah, well, that's true. As a matter of fact, no sooner did he finish, and by the way, you know, the people at Fox and Newsmax were saying what a magnificent job he did, and he did. I watched it. In the beginning, he was a little stilted because it's not his element. His element is going out on the stage and being Donald Trump and just entertaining. Right. When you're in a formal environment like he was in last night, it's got more restrictions, and it's not as comfortable for him. And he started out a little stiff, but as he went along, he loosened up, and it was the content of what he said that was the real plus. He talked about some great things. He told about how he was handed a lot of junk when he got into office. Failing economy. We had a budget, an economy that was out of control, and he's reined it back in. And but he said something, Bill, which I thought was really interesting. He said about 10 minutes into the speech, maybe a little less, he talked about Biden's economy, and then he talked about some magnificent things he's going to do for our service people. Listen.
Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished through our great, big, beautiful bill, perhaps the most sweeping legislation ever passed in Congress. We wrapped 12 different bills up into one beautiful bill. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Under these cuts, many families will be saving between $11,000 and $20,000 a year, and next spring is projected to be the largest tax refund season of all time. Because of tariffs, along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations to everybody. And by the way, we now have record enlistment in our military, and last year we had among the worst recruitment numbers in our military's history. What a difference a year makes.
He's giving a $1,776 warrior dividend.
Before Christmas.
Yeah, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas for our military people, which is kind of nice.
Now I know what Christmas smells like. You thought it smelled like pine cones and holly and stuff. It smells like money.
Yes. I think that's a terrific, I heard some people on the left poo-pooing it, like, oh, it's stuff he's trying to buy. But no, obviously you don't realize $1,776 to the military is a large sum of money. I mean, it's a big deal. It really helps them out. It makes their Christmas, like you just said.
Well, let me ask you a question. Would you take $1,776?
I wouldn't even have to think about it.
All right.
Absolutely.
And you talk about Christmas, people go, oh, it's so expensive. The rule is, from the economists and rich people, you budget 1% of your salary for Christmas. So, if you sit there and you make $4,000 a month, well, what is 1%? Or let's just go by the year. You make whatever that is, 50 some, whatever it is. You make that kind of money, 50-something $1,000. What is that, $520?
I mean, he also talked about giving $2,000 to every tax-paying and working family. If you contribute to the U.S., you get something back. When did Biden say that?
Oh, he never did.
When did Bush say that? Obama? None of them. All they do is take. This guy wants to give us something back.
Well, how they did it, I think Bush did it in child credits, but he didn't do this. So, as a matter of fact, I think when we had COVID and Trump was in, when they tried to kill him with the COVID, he's the one that put forth a stimulus for us with to get through those hard times.
Trump did.
Yeah. Trump did.
Yep.
And then, but the other people took credit for it, but he was the one that did it.
Yeah.
If you want to be honest and look, and he said it, but he paved the way. He did it. He put it forth, but the left was quick to try to steal that thunder.
Yeah. He ended the speech last night. He closed. It was kind of an epic ending, talking about where we are and how great things are going, and to think positively about the future. Listen to this.
We are making America great again. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected. And our country is back, stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics, both of which I got. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
I think he did a great job. And, the people who said negative things last night, it was expected that they would. They're not going to say, surprisingly, he was magnificent. No, they're going to do everything they can to minimize him and to destroy the positive things that he's done. he did a great job. It was a good speech, and he should be proud. I know that I'm enthusiastic. I'm more enthusiastic now, Bill, than I was before the speech.
Well, they had their negative takedowns of Trump ready before he ever even opened his mouth. They might take a little this or that, but everything is rehearsed and pre-scripted by the Democrats. So in other words, no matter what he does, he could part the seas. Gold, we could have a day. He goes, stay inside because something good's going to happen, and it rains gold coins on your property. They would have something to say about it. Well, people lost windshields today, and they will sit there and go the negative road every time they can. The Democrats don't know what a high road is. They know the low road, and it goes straight to hell. And if you follow them, now you know where you're going.
It's funny you should say that. The Democrats, Bill, the Democrats today are not the Democrats that I grew up, actually being a part of. I was in the party when I was a young adult. I was a Democrat, and it was a different situation back then. I thought Ronald Reagan kind of summed up what the liberals are. Listen to this.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Boy, he was right on the money. And that's where we are right now. The liberals right now are the ones who are the fascists, yet they're the ones who turn around and scream at the conservatives and call them fascists and Nazis. It's 180 degrees,
Yeah, they've been doing it for years. But you know what? And this is nothing new, and it has been a trick of the left for a long time. And I'm not saying Republicans aren't guilty of throwing, negativities out there too. But the Democrats have done this. You go, well, you can go back to the 60s. No, you can go way further back than that. As old as that party is, and they're the oldest party out there, that has been tactic number one. And ever since the word Nazi has come around, they have used it against the right, to sit there and do that because it has taint. It has a negative, negativity to it.
Yep.
And they want to throw it at you. It is a bucket of crap, and they're going to throw it at you. Doesn't matter that you don't deserve it. They want it to stick.
They, I've always been amazed at the Democratic Party. For example, in the Civil War, they were the party of slavery. They were the party that wanted to keep slavery alive in our country. Slavery.
But you wouldn't know that today because they've spun it around. They are great spin doctors.
Absolutely. They make it sound like it was the Republicans, and if you're not a student of history, you might believe that. But the fact of the matter is, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, and he was the guy who gave us the Emancipation Proclamation. But we're living with it now, Bill. They scream fascism and Nazi at everybody who's a conservative all the time.
Hey, look, I'm guilty of responding to a post in a positive way, and I said nothing political at all or anything. I was just saying, well, it's tough times, and we got to learn to get along, is basically what I said, and quit throwing mud. Well, somebody didn't like that post, took it down, and the next thing I know, I was a Nazi and I was a racist.
Yeah.
And you could tell by the post, and we won't mention his name, but his name is so-and-so. And what they did was libelous and slanderous. They actually, and it's still sitting there. I know where it is.
They have no reservations about doing that.
Yeah, because, they're sitting there going, well, I'm sitting over here in Arizona. He's out on the East Coast. Well, buddy, there is a plane that I could catch, and I could get a cab, and I could show up. I could show up at your
front
next
door,
venue, your front door or your venue,
and
say, excuse me, I thought maybe you'd like to tell me to my face.
Yeah, I don't think you should even suggest
I-
that because
no,
you know
no, I
you know
wouldn't
what's
do
going to
it.
happen. Somebody's going to show up at his front door, and then they're going to be showing up at your front door. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm just saying, they shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
Oh, I agree.
It's crazy. I saw that and I was going like, I wasn't even going to respond to it, or I didn't respond to it that way. But I mention it because the taint and negativity has gotten so bad.
They so casually throw out the terms and the labels, and if you do it in reverse, if you call them those things, they cannot believe that you would ever say something like that.
It's not even about that. What they have decided is that they have an elite attitude. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm a Democrat. We do everything right and you do everything wrong. You are subservient to us. And that is just the way they feel. They will talk down to you. And you got to realize that they think that they are the anointed,
Well, look at what
the
they are
upper
right
class.
now. Look at what they are right now. Right now, the left thinks it's okay. They've actually accepted the idea that violence is acceptable to achieve their goals. It's okay to be violent. Now, if you are violent to them, it's okay, for example, for them to throw rocks at ICE agents, okay? It's okay to hit an ICE agent with a club. That's fine. But boy, if the ICE agent retaliates and hits them with a club, that's police brutality. They initiate the problem. They do what they say you're doing, and, no big deal.
They're fire starters.
Yep.
They're fire starters. They go set a fire, and then they step back to watch it burn because that's what a fire starter does. And then we'll sit there and go, you see that? Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. They are fire starters,
Well, speaking of fire starters, you see where Dan Bongino's leaving after the first of the year?
Yeah, what has he been in 9 months, and he's stepping down. He's not been able to get anything done. It's going to be interesting to see what he says when he's out.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that the Democrats will be quick to say, "Oh, everything's falling apart," and they're going to say it's proof that Trump is corrupt. I already see the writing that the Democrats are going to.
A lot of people said the problem is that the deputy position under Kash Patel is normally staffed by somebody who's an experienced FBI agent who knows the ins and outs of the FBI.
He didn't.
And he did not know that. No, exactly. He had no FBI experience. He had Secret Service experience, but they're different branches of government, and they have different idiosyncrasies. And so I don't blame him for leaving. It must have been very frustrating for a guy like him. And I think he misses the fact that he had more input as a national broadcaster than he had as a deputy FBI director. I think it'll.
Well,
go ahead.
I've got a segment. If Bongino happens to hear this, here's a segment for your new podcast. Are you ready for it? In quotations, do tell. Like the old saying, do tell?
Yeah.
Because I am sure that while he was there, he saw enough of what is under the surface.
Well, I think the problem he probably is sworn to.
And sign stuff.
Yeah, he had to sign stuff that he can't talk about it.
Although
it would be interesting. I think if I were Vince Colonnese, I'd be a little concerned about my career. I mean, Vince Colonnese is the guy who took Bongino's shift. He essentially works for Bongino. The family controls that show. And now I'm wondering, is Dan going to come back and take that slot again and move Vince to a different time slot?
Well, I'll answer that question by asking you this question. If it was you, what would you do?
Well, if it were me, I would probably, if I were coming back and I had that show before,
you'd take your old position
I'd take my
back.
old show back. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you know what? And like I said, the do tell thing, he might not be able to get into the bolts and nuts, but he can walk that puppy right up to the fence and lean over a little bit.
Yeah.
You just don't want to step over. And the one thing, because he's got broadcast, journalistic skills, he knows what you can and can't do. And even though he was not FBI, he was CIA. You know what you can and can't do and how far you can walk that dog, and I would walk that pup all over the place.
By the way, if you hear a little computer ding every so often, I have an external hard drive that I think is starting to fail, and every so often it glitches, and you hear that little, notification ding. So
yeah, if you hear something like that on my end, that's the glitch in my brain.
Yeah, which is the same thing. Yeah,
it
external
really is.
hard
Yeah,
drive.
Yeah.
Hey, like and share the show if you would. Tell your friends about us. It's Jim and Bill. It's another day. We appreciate the many listeners and the new listeners who find us every day. Thanks to people like you who tell your friends about us. Like and share us. Also, if you want to contact us, it's mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com.
So you know what they had in Boston, don't you?
What's that?
A tea party.
Oh, I heard about that. Oh.
The iced tea party to sit there and give their thumb their noses at ice.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, and which is interesting because the governor and you got Mayor Wu and all that. They have a lot of corruption with what's going on with fraud and money, and everybody's wanting to get to the bottom of it. Even the residents in the area there, and they're not giving up information. They're not wanting to fight it because they're rife with fraud.
I didn't see it. Did they throw tea into the river, Charles River, or something? Or
I wasn't there to see it. I was
into
just
Boston Harbor.
Into Boston, yeah,
Yeah,
down by, yeah. Well, I wonder where they parked the cars.
near Harvard Yard.
The Harvard Yard, yeah.
Harvard, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe they gave out ice cubes and you threw them into.
And I shouldn't make. I worked in Boston, so I have friends in Boston, and I grew up
not
not
anymore,
too far.
but after
That's
that
true.
you don't.
That's true. They tell me where to park my car.
Yeah.
So did they? They got a lot of media, I guess, to show up to see their little demonstration.
Well, you know what? It's a play on the old tea party, but I'm like going, for the ice thing, and we're having an iced tea party. That was stupid. That's unoriginal. To me, I'm like going, you're going to do something, be really clever, be original.
They had a nice tea party, and a rapper showed up. Anyway, think about that for a second, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
You hear about the Rhode Island people down, the people who are running that investigation into the mass shooting at Brown University. They had another press conference, and I think they're doing a one-up. They're seeing whether they can make their each and every subsequent press conference less informative and more of a clown show than the previous one.
Why are they having so many? I was driving yesterday and heard this thing, and I was going like, what am I listening to? This is stupid. Somebody gets up there going, well, and it was a whole lot of nothing. And after he sits there for about 10 minutes doing nothing, well, let me call up so-and-so now who's got a lot more of nothing to say. And I'm sitting there going, Brown, the campus there, they've got cameras all over the place. But I guess some of the
almost
cameras,
1,000, I hear. Maybe more.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Let me ask you a question. You've got a university, and right now, and you're a school that has a lot of cameras, known for it, and you want the safety of the students. I would think that study halls and classrooms are a place. It's not private. People don't walk in there in their pajamas. Why wouldn't you have cameras in a classroom? So if there is an outbreak, and I don't see why we don't have cameras in every damn schoolroom, in every damn hallway coming up to the building, let's put cameras there. So when something happens, if somebody goes, the camera wasn't working, who was in charge of that camera? Well, Bob over there. Bob, you're fired.
Well, they can't afford it, Bill. Brown University has an $8 billion endowment or something like that. It's an enormous amount of money. They have more money than some states. And they say, by the way, that Brown University runs Providence, and it wouldn't surprise me. But you know what? I heard they had a Latino radio host at the press conference, and you would think that the Latino radio host would be on the side of the illegal, but no. This Latino radio host was saying, you guys are, you don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide footage because it's political. I'm going to play a little bit of what he said.
The camera in that building that Brown put up because the sanctuary city law that we have, you don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it come out from your detectives, they are friends of mine, they're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera up, they can identify that person. You imagine how the family want to go through? Tell the truth to the media here. Putting cameras off.
We heard from both the Brown police chief and the provost at Brown, who have shared that they have been fully cooperative and been forthcoming with all data and evidence that they have. The City of Providence's experience is the same, which is that Brown has been entirely cooperative and collaborative and fully sharing with us. We will be back here tomorrow once again if you are not on the press list.
And then he ends the press conference. By the way, Brett Smiley is he's just a camera-hungry waste of space. I'm sorry. This guy should not be the point man on this investigation. It should be an FBI agent. And I had heard, Bill, that they actually haven't asked the FBI to take charge of the investigation. It's still in the hands of the local Providence police. And the FBI, they're there, but I guess the Providence police are running things. And the other thing I heard, which was interesting, there's a lot of speculation that the killer ran into the classroom, and just before he shot his first victim, Ella Cook, he yelled, "Allahu Akbar." But I was listening to one of the people who were actually up there at the press conference, and also John DePietro is his name. He is a radio talk show host, a lot of experience in Providence. I believe now he's doing podcasting and investigative reporting. And he said the reason why they haven't released that is because there's a conflict. Some people said that the guy came in and yelled "Allah," right? Other people said he came in and yelled Ella Cook. The first victim was Ella Cook.
Well, I got an idea. Why don't we just get the audio out there so we can determine exactly what the hell it is he said?
But they don't have it. What do you mean, the audio of the shooter?
Yeah.
They don't have any audio of him shooting.
Well, then, okay, if they don't have audio, they've got three different interpretations.
Why don't talk about it?
They talk about it.
Yeah.
Because there might be other people that haven't come forward that heard, and we can fine-tune it. But either way, any three of those interpretations are telltale and damning.
You know, they say sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I agree. They should talk about it. But, they have screwed this investigation up, and it's gotten progressively worse. I don't know, Bill, whether they're going to find this guy. Now, I hear some experts on these different shows saying, well, no, they'll get him. They'll get him. No, not necessarily.
How?
Yeah. You have to have evidence, and they don't seem to have any. I think this guy, he could be, I heard one guy say this, and I agree. Today, that guy could be halfway around the world. He could be in a completely different country. He could have been a student that went home at Christmas vacation and is not coming back. This guy may be gone.
To put it in record terms, he could have been a one-hit wonder. And we'll always wonder who he is because, like you said, he went down the road, got in his car, and casually drove out of town, maybe got over on 84 and drove through Connecticut into Pennsylvania and somewhere in New York, or wherever, and maybe caught a plane west or caught a plane out of the country.
Yeah.
You know, we'll never know unless he's, you know, does something like this again and gets caught the next time.
And they was so quick, and I'm sorry, I don't know about you folks, but I can almost predict if there's a similar crime done within a short period of time, within a close geographic area, like what was done Sunday in Boston,
MIT.
at MIT, right?
Yeah.
I could almost predict that the quote investigators will say, "We see no connection to the two crimes." Mind you, they have no real solid evidence with their crime. They don't know who this guy is. They don't know where he went. They don't know who he's working with, whether he had co-conspirators. They don't know whether he's part of a whole movement or whether he's a lone wolf.
Well, nobody's talking about the MIT the day afterwards.
The guy, they say, was a brilliant nuclear scientist. He was an immigrant from Portugal, and I believe he was Jewish.
Now wait a minute now.
Yeah.
He's Jewish. Were there any people like that in Rhode Island that were?
Well, no, I don't know. I know that Ella Cook wasn't. She was, I believe, Catholic. But there may have been others. He shot a bunch of other people in that room. We don't
Right.
hear anything about that.
See, I had heard that, and I could be totally wrong, but the person that was leading that study, whoever she was,
Yeah.
may have had a Jewish connection, and so it could have been, I guess a teacher or whatever that was heading up that. This was study for finals,
Yeah.
so it could have been two people there that were targeted, two ringers, so to speak.
Well, I thought it was fascinating that, and I thought it never occurred to me that he may have been yelling Ella, not Allah, Allahu Akbar. There's a similarity, and you could be easily confused, especially under stress. If the guy came in and he targeted Ella Cook first, that would explain what he must have known her. Do you think, Bill, they're going to find who the killer is?
Okay, this guy's had time now to get away, and just reversing roles. If I were that guy, I would be long gone and forgotten about. I did my job. I'm done until my next assignment or whatever it is comes along. But what they're going to do, they're going to find somebody or make somebody a patsy and say, "Yeah, we found him cowering in an apartment hiding, because we were on to him." And I'm not going to trust anything that they come up with now.
He covered his face. He was aware where the cameras were. I've heard nobody offer the possibility that his beefiness, his corpulent body might have been a fat suit. I mean, if the guy's trying to hide and disguise himself going into the situation, if you watch him walk across the street, his legs and his lower body don't seem terribly large. They seem normal for a thinner guy. His gut seems fairly good size, and I'm thinking that could be a pillow. He may have strapped pillows. In Hollywood, they have fat suits that people wear in movies. They're designed specifically to make thinner people look heavy. Why couldn't he have done something, like that to disguise his appearance? He was very cautious. This guy, he scoped the area out. He knew where the cameras were. Based upon their timeline, he was walking around the neighborhood at least 2 hours before the shooting. He was pacing back and forth. The building that the shooting was in was on the perimeter of the Brown campus. the very edge of Brown's campus. So there was some speculation that he was attacking Brown and not any one person specifically. The classroom apparently was on the first floor, so it was easy for him to get into it, commit the crime, and get out. I think the fact, like you said earlier, that they didn't have working cameras everywhere is obscene. It should be a state requirement. If I were a lawmaker in Rhode Island right now, today, I would put a bill forth saying every room except for the restrooms in schools have got to have a camera surveillance.
Yeah. I agree. That's where they should be, and perhaps a locker room in a gym or something like that. But that's to me that's just standard operating procedure.
Yep.
In this day and age. It's sad, but it has to be that way.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen. Every day that goes by, I get more discouraged with regard to this case. I think they're not going to find the killer unless the killer screws up, unless the killer goes home and tells somebody who tells somebody. If he starts to brag about, or if somebody back in the neighborhood looks over at Charlie across the street and says, boy, come to think of it, Charlie across the street looks just like, and he walks just like that guy in that picture. And Charlie,
pigeon toed just like him or something. Yeah.
And Charlie across the street is a moody kind of guy who likes guns or something like that. That may work in our favor. But if he's a trained killer, people, that's an assumption nobody's made. What if he's an assassin? And I do think there could be a connection between the Boston shooting and the Providence shooting. It's because I grew up in that area, and I know how close the two campuses are.
It's not a hop, skip, and a jump. It's a hop and part of a skip, and that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe just a skip. You're not. He didn't have to wait a day. He could have done both, the same day. But, that's how close it is.
I mean, if you were running bus service from Providence to MIT, you could do multiple trips in the course of a day. It's not like it's a long ways off. If you're not familiar with the area, folks, it's close. All right. They may say, well, one's in Boston and one's in Providence. Literally, with all due respect, the guy who shot the people in Providence could have driven up to Boston, spent the night, and done what he had to do in Boston the next day, and then gone home.
Could have done what he did, had a nice breakfast, still get on the road and be there for lunch in Boston, and then go do what he did again.
And what are the similarities between the two? They know nothing about any of the shooters. Nothing. Which says to me that whoever did it knew what the hell he was doing.
Well, you say shooters, but, actually, what we're implying there, it could be shooter.
Yeah, right. That's
not
true.
Plural.
Yeah. Slip of the tongue.
Yeah.
Hey, like and share the show. Tell your friends about us. It's Jim and Bill. It's another day. Jim and Bill. It's another day. Mail at jimandbill.com if you want to say hello.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. Boy, I got to tell you, my allergies are really acting up. I can't help it. It's just one of those things. It's that time of year. You walk outside and it's really cold. Do you have this problem in this time of year? When you walk
sinuses.
Outside?
Sinuses, allergies. The cold. I don't like the cold either.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
well, are we ever satisfied? I mean, I have friends, Bill, who have said their whole lives, when I get old enough, I'm moving to Florida. And they did. And then they get down to Florida, and sometime like in March or something, or April, they'll move back up for the summertime because they can't stand the blistering heat and the humidity.
Well, maybe there's some good news.
What's that?
If I know my stuff, which I don't always do, but we're a little over a week to go to Christmas.
Oh, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
But
yes.
Slowly but surely, we're at that point now where the days were getting darker sooner.
Yes.
Actually, now that turns around, And each day we will start having just a wee bit more light.
I think that's the winter solstice, and it starts what, December 21st?
Yes. So we are at that point.
We may not make that though, Bill.
Well, today
why?
is what you're talking about, that rogue.
Yes.
Atlas. Out there?
Was it? What is it? What's it called?
Something AI.
Yeah, it's something.
AI.
Yeah, whatever they call that silly thing that's flying over our head. And the Atlas. I can't think of what they call it now. It's that silly
3AI
asteroid.
or something like that. Yeah.
3i Atlas. 3i Atlas.
Yeah. I knew it was something like that.
Why can't they just call it the Jones Rock or something? Or something you can remember. They have to always complicate things.
The Fubar Rock. Yeah.
Yes. It is.
Well, isn't it's the 19th,
and it's
that would be tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, we may not have a show on what's tomorrow? Is tomorrow Friday? We may not have a Saturday show.
Well, if we do have a show tomorrow, when it happens,
yes.
That show could just blow us away.
It could take us to new heights. That's true.
Really could. But either way, yeah. So, if we get through that, then Sunday is the turnaround point where the days will slowly get a little bit more sunny each day earlier. And you'll go, oh, and somebody will be sitting there saying, boy, Bill was wrong. I don't see any difference. But if you wait about a week, all of a sudden you'll notice it, because that little movement every day, it adds up pretty quick, which I like. But it's still winter. The weather's still going to suck.
Hey, I got to ask you, have you been following, there's a lot of, there's a big, I love this term, brouhaha.
Brouhaha, yeah.
I don't know whoever thought of that, There's a big online brouhaha between Candace Owen, the podcaster, and Turning Point USA, and a lot of the allies to Turning Point USA. Candace Owen, they're saying, is a conspiracy theorist, and she has really pushed a lot of her theories. Now, I always found her to be intelligent, and even when she's wrong, she's tried to be honest. I think she truly believes what she's saying. I don't think she's doing it for numbers. I could be wrong. I don't know her personally. But that's my opinion. She was on TV with Piers Morgan, and they got into a bit of a little online debate, on-air debate, rather. And I have it here. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, let's go. I mean, I would say this about Candace.
Yes.
She's engaging, and the fact is, I think she's at a point to where she doesn't give a rat's ass what Jim or Bill thinks or you think. She has her point, and she's sticking to it, whether she's right or wrong.
Well, now that you've said that, let's hear how she handled her situation with Piers Morgan.
Why would he say that?
So
Why was he so involved as somebody who's
Candace,
fighting a 97,000 front war?
Candace, I want to get to the reality of what you're actually saying. So when you say that somebody at Turning Point USA, Charlie's company, was complicit in his murder, who was?
I believe that there were multiple people at Turning Point who are, as I have said many times, my exact words are, they are engaged in a cover-up of what happened to Charlie on that day.
No, but who was involved in his murder?
I didn't say that they murdered Charlie.
You said that people at Turning Point were complicit in his murder.
No, my exact sentence that I said was that there were people at Turning Point who are engaged in a cover-up.
No, you didn't.
I believe that thoroughly.
Candace, you didn't say that. You said literally.
I did say that on my entire show.
You said there were people at Turning Point complicit in his murder.
Okay.
That's what you said.
When you and I were discussing, that's why I said, let's go back. I was applying the logic of a conspiracy to JFK. I said, okay, if JFK, you have people that are complicit. Of course, if you apply that logic, if there is a conspiracy, there's going to be multiple people that are going to be complicit by the time, in order for a large stage murder to happen.
You specifically said, you didn't say complicit in a cover-up. You said complicit in the murder. Because I said, who at Turning Point was involved in his murder? And
let me clarify for you. Okay, you can keep saying what I said, or you can listen to what I am saying.
Okay.
When I was using the analogy of JFK and we were connecting it, I was basically pushing back on you because you were suggesting that, all of these people being involved would be crazy. So I was applying the analogy of what happened to JFK. Well, you actually, if you go back and listen,
I don't know.
Suggesting that a conspiracy...
I said you don't know either.
Well,
You're floating theories.
when we started talking about the JFK
perfectly
thing...
Listen, let me make it clear.
Piers, I really think you're not holding on to your thoughts here
Candace,
correctly.
let me spell out my thought very clearly.
When we started talking about JFK, the implication that you were making was that it was crazy to suggest that multiple people could have been involved at different levels. I was then connecting the dots and saying that in order for the JFK assassination to happen, there had to have been tons of people that were complicit,
I understand.
right?
I heard what you said.
Maybe you're the person who takes the cameras down. Maybe you're the person that told him to drive that day. Maybe you're LBJ. So they're not all complicit in the murder, but they're all at different varying stages involved in the cover-up. Right? So that's what a grand conspiracy actually is. And I do believe, so you don't have to go back and we don't have to go through it. I'm telling you what I think about Turning Point. You know, I am very known for being honest about what I believe. You're not I'm not exactly a person that you got to pull teeth on.
Sure.
I believe that there are people at Turning Point who are engaged in covering up what happened on that day.
But were any of them engaged in the planning of the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I wouldn't know how it was planned. Absolutely, I can't make that. I cannot confidently make that statement. I can say confidently that I know they're engaged in the cover-up because I've been investigating what happened on that day and what transpired thereafter. I've been clear. I've named those people on my show. I've said they are engaged in a cover-up, and I've listed the lies. So you don't have to try to make something out of what I didn't say. I tell you what I think. It's already controversial. We don't need to get more controversial, okay? Do I think someone at Turning Point pulled the trigger? No. Obviously, I don't think someone at Turning Point pulled the trigger.
Anybody at Turning Point, did anybody at Turning Point, in your opinion, know that Charlie Kirk was going to be murdered?
There is specifically 2 people at Turning Point USA, and I have communicated that information to Erica and Justin Strife, that I would not be surprised if they had foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk being assassinated.
But do you have any evidence?
I'm not going to name. I am not going to name those people, okay? Because it's not right for me to name those people until I know for a fact that they did.
Did you give the names Did you give the names to Erica?
Yes. So I absolutely did.
You gave the names to Erica of 2 employees, current employees at Turning Point, who you believe were involved in the preparation for the murder of Charlie Kirk. Is that what you're saying?
I told them that if I were in your shoes, these would be 2 employees that I would look further into. That's
what evidence do you have that they had any prior knowledge of the murder? Because I don't have concrete evidence is the reason why I'm not naming them. So I've been responsible. You've got no evidence, I'm not saying,
but
you're telling the widow that these 2 people may have been involved in the murder. But you see the problem.
Well, the evidence for it is people that there was not concrete evidence. It's like you're trying to get me to say something that I never said and then asking me to defend it.
No, I'm asking what evidence you've got.
You're asking me privately, did I communicate to them that I think you should look further? That's called an investigation, Piers.
You know, I don't know why people do this, and they do it all the time. They go on programs that they have to know beforehand they're going to be controversial, or they do an interview that they know is going to be controversial. Case in point, Susie Wiles, the chief of staff of President Trump, who Trump thinks the world of, and has, every time he gets an opportunity, he says she's the best. Well, she does an interview with Vanity Fair, which is notoriously left-leaning and a liberal rag. All they do is Trump hit pieces. Why in the name of God would they do an interview? And somebody said it's not just like one interview. Apparently, they for the story, they sit down like a bunch of different times to do the interview to get different things answered before they actually write the story. And then when they write the story, they have to know that it's going to be a hit piece. If I were Trump, I would sit down with my staff and say, before you do an interview about this administration, you have to see me first. If I find out that you've done an interview without letting me know beforehand who you're going to be talking with,
it's bye-bye.
You're gone. Period. End of sentence. And, you know, Trump, to his credit, he still supporting Susie Wiles. And apparently she said something, and I don't know the exact term. I think it was told to me, so it could be wrong, but she implied that Trump had an alcoholic personality. He doesn't drink.
He doesn't.
Trump has been a teetotaler for years.
Didn't they run with that in the magazine? And
yes.
Trump, that has set Trump off because I don't want to say something that I'm not sure about. I was going to say I think there was alcoholism with somebody in the family, and that's why he's very adamant against it.
Oh,
But
he's strongly against it, and he's made it so that his kids are cautious about their drinking. I'm not saying they were all a teetotaler like Dad, but the president doesn't have time to drink. All he does is work. They say he's texting people at 2 a.m.
Yeah, from what I understand, if people have gotten him, he does. He's one of those people that doesn't sleep much. I know the left is trying to use that against him. Well, he's tired. Well, he's probably tired not because of that trait, because he's always had it that way, but right now, this job can wear anybody down, and for what he's doing, the amount of effort and time he's putting into it, and then having to thwart off all the negativity that's out there, and where they take a story and malign it. I would get, at some point in time to where the fatigue catches you a little bit, and it might look like he's dozing. He's not, but
so Candace Owen, she goes on Piers Morgan's show. She had to know that Piers Morgan was going to be confrontational. I would have known it. I would have known that he was going to try to make me look silly, and he did try to make her look like a liar, like an opportunist, like a quack, and he did his very best. I got to tell you, folks, I love social media. I know Bill does too. We've been doing this. It'll be 5 years. Wait a second. It was 5 years on the 16th. We missed our birthday, our anniversary. It's the 18th now. We actually talked through our 5th anniversary.
Yeah. We talked over it, yeah.
Holy smokes. Anyway, happy birthday. Anyway, I love doing what we're doing, but I also know the power of what we do, and I also know that there are some people who abuse the power. We talk to you. We tell you our opinion. When you listen to our show, you're getting it hot off the press. This is what we feel at the time we're doing the show. We study what we're talking about, and then we have our comments. There are some people who have an agenda. They do the program with a specific agenda. We don't do that here on our program, and I think you can tell. Case in point, Tucker Carlson. I used to be a huge fan of Tucker's. I still kind of like him, but I'm not as. I used to give him a lot of deference, like the guy was always on the money. In more recent times, he's kind of, in my opinion, gone off the rails a bit. That's just me talking. Case in point, he was on with Judge Andrew Napolitano, another guy who has a podcast. And they were talking about the president and Venezuela and war. And Tucker, from his sources, this is before the speech last night. This is what Tucker said about what the president was going to announce. Listen.
Is Trump going to start a war in Venezuela?
I don't know. I don't know when this program airs, the one that we're on right now. There's things maybe live.
We're live now, and then it'll be posted immediately. So now,
my sense is, I don't know the answer. I've certainly been on the phone a lot about it. I have no power. I'm a podcaster, but I'm very interested. And so here's what I know so far, which is that members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9 o'clock by the president. Who knows, by the way, if that will actually happen? I don't know. And I never want to overstate what I know, which is pretty limited in general.
You never want to overstate it, but you just did.
Did it, yeah. And no, I haven't heard any pretense of a war out there. There are maybe things in the news that could lead to it, but
I'm not saying the president may have briefed members of Congress. He may have said something like, there's a possibility that we may be going hot with the war in Venezuela.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's that already is a war. It's a war on drugs. I mean, didn't they just take out another boat, 26 now on the list. So they've done that. There's a war going on there. But hell, we got a war with the media going on here. The left media that's sitting there, they're taking shots all the time. That is a political war. And it's also driving up violence in the United States. You want to talk a war? We got a war within our own nation. You've got some stupid yahoos, call it that way, up in Maine, senators that are running that are going, I think it's time to divide up the United States, and we're going to give states and land back to indigenous people. In other words, okay, the indigenous people, this is our land.
As some of my relatives used to say when I was a young boy, all the nuts aren't in the fruitcake. And I think that's the case in Maine.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so, if I get this right about indigenous people, well, they came over when, not Arizona, but Alaska was connected to Siberia, and they marched across, chasing for food and home and everything. So indigenous people, if I get it right, they are the original inhabitant of the entire planet. So why don't we just give the whole damn thing to them and ask them what we should do?
Oh, I just think that the left, they outdo themselves when it comes to stupidity with regard to. So well, look what Biden did with the border. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you had said to any rational human being, and the operative term is rational. If you had said, is it a good idea to open our border up and let anybody who wants to come into the country come into the country? You could have said to a high school kid, to a junior high school kid, should we open our borders up and let everybody in? They would have said absolutely not. So what did the Democrats do? They opened the damn border up and let everybody in. And they thought it was a good thing? By the way, I thought it was funny what you sent me this morning before the show. That little meme about President Trump's doing something special for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's reuniting a lot of, illegals with their families for the holidays.
Yeah. We're sending them home. They get free flights home.
Yeah.
I've got some others like that too. But you know what? I don't post those, by the way.
No, it's okay. It's all right. He just sends them to his friends.
Right. I don't put them out. Yes. Look, I because somebody, they'll sit there and see the humor in it and not look at it as a political statement. So as a general rule, I don't post things like that. If I post something, it's obviously genuinely funny, and it has no statement whatsoever. Then you and I have a sense of humor.
Hey, the other thing I wanted to point out, when you think things are really bad here, look to England. England right now is going through a difficult time. Have you heard? They seem to be obsessed with going to war with Russia. England. The absolute insistence with the British authorities trying to brainwash their citizens into getting used to the idea that they may be actually in a hot war with Russia. The UK top military chief has gone further than anyone by warning the British families that they must be prepared to send their sons and daughters to war against Russia. I want you to listen to this. This is a British general, the top British general, talking to the people of Great Britain.
The most obvious impact on all of us will be the cost of building this resilience. Sons and daughters, colleagues, veterans will all have a part to play, to build, to serve, and if necessary, to fight. And more families will know what sacrifice for our nation means.
The comments follow a separate speech by Blaise Metrovelli, the head of MI6. She, too, raised the alarm about the dangers posed by Vladimir Putin's Russia.
We all continue to face the menace of an aggressive, expansionist and revisionist Russia seeking to subjugate Ukraine and harass NATO. I find it harrowing that hundreds of thousands have died, with the toll mounting every day because of Putin's historical distortions and his compromised desire for respect.
The two speeches underline the growing concern inside defence and security circles about the threat posed by Russia and the need for the whole of society to be prepared to respond. Yet defence insiders tell me they're worried that the only thing really growing in defence is the gap between the strong rhetoric from officials and the reality in the ranks, where there are questions about where the money's coming from to rebuild the armed forces and to rebuild wider national resilience. Is there a risk that the only thing growing in UK defence is the gap between the strong rhetoric from people like you about the need to rebuild strength and the reality in the ranks, where they're facing potential cuts of capability and no clarity on how we're going to fund a whole of society approach to resilience?
My job is to advise on the risks and the opportunities associated with defence investment. But those trade-offs are those for government and for ministers to make, and they're difficult trade-offs.
You know, they're talking about sending their sons and daughters to war in England. Now, let me tell you, I heard somebody say something which was really depressing, but it seemed, when you think about it, very true. They said that actually Europe may be already gone. They may be beyond saving themselves. France, for example, their New Year's celebration on the Champs-Élysées.
Canceled.
Yeah. It's like Times Square is for us. That's what that is to them. It's big and it's annual and nothing stops it except this. The police and the people, the officials said, we can't protect you. So we're going to have to cancel it. So that's gone. People will be spending their New Year's celebration at home, not with the crowds in downtown Paris. Germany, they're closing down a lot of their Christmas celebrations because they've had attacks and threats of attacks. And
who's threatening?
It's the Islamists. It's the Islamists.
So this is a religious war.
It is one after the other, and every single time they have to, either there's an attack or a threat, it's coming from an Islamist.
So they're taking away our celebration of the
our culture
of Jesus Christ, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm not saying that as anything, but just to sit there and say, understand what this is.
And again, there's a separation, at least in my mind, between a Muslim and an Islamist, whatever you want. Islamist is somebody who is a terrorist, essentially. And a Muslim is somebody who practices a faith but lives as a civilized human being in society. There's a difference. But I saw a list of terror attacks over the last 25 years that had to be 50 different attacks. I never realized there were that many that have happened, and each one of them was done by a terrorist group, an Islamist terrorist group. Each one of them. And I thought, my God, it never occurred to me how many attacks we've had. And whether some are smaller, some are huge, like the World Trade Center, and they don't seem to stop. And what do? What does Biden do? Instead of protecting us as a nation, which is his job, his requirement as president, he opens the doors to the country and says, I don't care who you are, come on in, we're not checking. And that's essentially what he did. And did we have 10,000 come in? 20,000? No. They're saying, 25, 30 million strangers in our country? And now what does the left do now? What do these patriotic Americans do right now? Right now, they're fighting who? They're fighting ICE. Guys like Pritzker and Johnson in Illinois. They're fighting on the side of the illegal and not the citizen. They're not protecting the Americans in their state and in their cities. They're protecting the illegals.
Yeah, I don't know what they think their goal is by doing that and letting all these illegals in here, but where we're headed is not good. And you got, like you said, the UK wanting to do war with Russia, At some point in time, we probably will get into a global, war, but it's going to be a reset on mankind. And
well, I don't see. I think there'll be a split. I think there's going to be a point where if they start to do stuff on their own over in Europe, Trump will bail out of NATO.
Well, we should bail out of NATO, but
he'll say, "You're on your own. Good luck." And boy, they haven't got the wherewithal to keep NATO floating like it's being, is floating now. They just don't. They haven't got the industrial might that we have in this country. Anyway, we could go on and on. It's there's a lot to talk about. We could do a 3-hour show, but we don't have that kind of time. Anything you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, I was just looking here to see what else is going on in the news, but nothing. They can't wait until. This is interesting. House passes bill to prosecute doctors and parents for sex changes for children.
Yeah, I saw that. Big. That's like a no-brainer. They should have done that a long time ago.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to applaud when they do something right? If you had said to me 10 years ago that this would even be an issue, I would have looked at you cross-eyed. All of a sudden, we're supposed to be giving them a round of applause.
Well, no, it shouldn't be a story, but obviously that's going to get the of the left and a lot. So there will be some kind of weird stuff going on with that. I just don't see that. I agree with it, but I don't see it just going by unnoticed, is what I'm saying.
Anyway, I'm done. You can put a fork in this one. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
All right, we'll stick a fork in this one, and until the next time, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
Who are we? And why are we here? Will we be welcome or possibly feared? Do we unite and stand tall as a nation of one? Or split and divide to be mocked and shunned? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue? The truth is out there, you just have to search. Settle for less, you'll be left in the lurch. No left-leaning lies, no socialist will. It's straight talking truth from your friends Jim and Bill. Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. All music the property of Jim and Bill. All rights reserved.
This is CRN America.